Hello everybody, this is Preet and today I'll be demonstrating how to create 2D levels using TileO in Unity. Now this is an example of what we will be creating. So get down right to it. Well, TileO is a 2D tile-based level editor for Unity. TileO is easy to use, works right within the scene view and comes with an automatic collider generator. As you can see, for this particular scene, I have generated a collider, which I'll just separate out. Okay, so this is the TileO generated collider. As you can see, this perfectly matches the scene geometry, and with just one click, you don't need to spend too much of an effort trying to create the collider for your levels. So let's get down right to creating a new scene, creating a new level. Alright, so first of all, you'll need to import sprites before you can start creating levels using TileO. Now, I have already imported a few sprites. These sprites are also available in the demo folder of the TileO package. If you look at the folder sample sprites, there is a small set of sprites which is available. Let's select any of these. So let's say I select G1. Now, when importing a sprite, one particular field that you need to take care of is the pixels per unit value. Now this value defines how many pixels correspond to one unit in Unity. TileO works on the basis of Unity measurements only. So whatever value you have over here, you just need to take care that you fill it in correctly. I'm pretty sure you're already doing it in your 2D games. So for the purpose of this particular video, I have set the pixels per unit size of all the sprites to 64. As you can see, the sprite itself is 64 by 64. So what that means is that this sprite would equal to a 1 by 1 unity unit in the editor. So drag it here, as you can see it's G1. Right, so I'll just delete it and let's get down to creating the levels. Now in order to create levels, you'll need to create tiles. The tiles can be created manually or could be created automatically using the scripts provided with TileO. So in order to create a tile, all you need to do is select a sprite. Now please take care that this is the texture, and if you click on the small arrow right next to the texture, you will get the sprites within this particular texture. So for G1, let's say I select G1 and let's select all the G1 to 6 sprites. So I'll just expand these ones. So I've already selected G1, I select G2, G3, G4, G5 and G6. Now once I've selected all the sprites, right click, select the last option, that is create tile. This might take a few seconds at the most. Alright, now as you can see, there's a new folder created under the assets folder. It's called tiles. If this folder had already been there, just new tiles would have been added to this particular folder. Now we have new tiles over here which says G1, G2. So all these are prefabs now. As you can see, the prefab is pretty simple. All it has is just a simple sprite renderer component attached to it. Feel free to add any other kind of components to these prefabs. It will work perfectly with TileO. Now this is one value that you must change based upon where your particular tile should be in the sorting order. So for this example, since these would be the foreground elements, I'll just select this sorting layer foreground, which is a sorting layer that I had created. So I have selected foreground. Alright, so let's get down to the next part. After creating the tiles, we need to create a tile set. That's pretty simple. Just select TileO, create new tile set. Now you might be wondering why create tiles and then create tile sets. Uh, as your pro as your project goes bigger in size, tile sets will really help you out because it helps keep the things organized. All of your tiles related to one particular look and feel would be present in one tile set. Just select the tile set, go to TileO, paint your level, and you're done. So as you can see, as I had clicked create new tile set, a new folder called tile set has been created under assets, and a new tile set has been created for me. So I'll just rename this to foreground elements. All right, foreground elements, set the size to 6 and assign all of my tiles. I already have a duplicate of these, so I'll just drag this over here. G1, G2. Alright, so our tile set is ready. Now in order to create the level itself, what we'll need to do is we'll need to create an empty game object, position it at wherever you would like it to. So I'll place it at 0, 0, focus. I'll just name it as foreground, and I'll add a component called TileO to this particular. Now this particular script must be attached to any object that needs to behave as the level editor. So over here there are just a few parameters which need to be filled in. First is tile dimensions. Now these values cannot be set to 0. If these are 0, you will get a small warning on the console. So I'll just clear the warning, set the values again. So tile dimensions are 1 by 1 since I had specified that pixels per unit is 64 for a sprite which was 64 by 64. That means tile dimensions are 1 and 1. Map size. Now this is the number of tiles in x and y direction, so I'll just set it to 30 and 15. Now as you can see, as soon as I typed in those values, a grid representation has been created in my scene view. Now if I select any other element, that representation would be hidden. So now I can select the color for my grid, so I'll just lighten it up a bit. Let's keep it at 1.5. That looks good. Next thing is I need to select a tile set for this particular map, so I'll select foreground elements. Now as you can see, a preview of all the tiles within that tile set is displayed right over here in the inspector. Let's get down to creating the level. Alright, so if I select any of the tiles, you can see the tile name, the layer and order in layer is displayed right below. Now I have few options: flood, fill, mask replacement, collider generator. We will get down to those options shortly. So I'll just select the first element and start painting it. Left click to place the tile and right click to delete those tiles. So I'll just go and place it. Sorry, let's create a boundary over here. Alright, so this is created. Let's create some grass. Okay, now we have an incline. That should be enough. Downward slope. Then fill it up again. So let's get cheeky with it. Okay, so this is what I have created. If I want to replace any of these, I just select another tile, click on that particular point replaced. So since I don't want to do this right now, I'll just undo my changes. So this is my foreground. Looks pretty simple for a level, but that should do. So let's just place a platform over here, a platform over here. Just simple stuff. Alright, so why don't we color it differently? So let's make it this. Alright, the platform is created, everything looks good. Now this takes care of our foreground. Now you might be wondering, what if I need to do layers with my tile editor? So the way layers are handled in TileO is that since everything is a prefab, everything is an instance of a game object. So what we'll do is we'll just create another game object in order to represent our background. So we'll say create empty, call it background, position it the same as our foreground 0 0. Then add a TileO component, dimensions. These can be different from what had been defined for the foreground. So, but since our tiles are same, so I'll just say that tile dimensions are 1 by 1. Map size is 30 in width, and let's keep it 25. 25 is too much, so let's keep it 20 for the height. And just to differentiate, we'll mark it with the red color, decrease the alpha a bit. So this is our grid for the background layer. Foreground, this is foreground, this is background. Alright, so now I need to select a tile set since I don't have any background tile set yet. So I'll just go to TileO, create new tile set. I'll name it as background element. I've got a few sample for background elements, so I'll just assign those to this particular tile set. So size is 4, to sample size, sample sprites, and over here I have few values, so I'll just say, sorry, what just happened? Oh, these are sprites. So I have to select tiles, that is instances prefabs. So I'll select tiles, I'll say B1, B2, B3, and B4. Alright, so this tile set is set, I'll just rename it. Alright, it's already renamed as background elements. Go back to my hierarchy, select background game object, set the tile set to background elements, and now I'll just select. As you can see, the sorting layer has already been set to background for these particular prefabs that are present in my background elements tile set. If you don't do this, you might run into issues where some of your sprites are displayed on top of others and the ordering is not as it was expected to be. So just ensure that the sorting layer is set correctly. So let's say I'll select the blue tile. Now if I want to flood fill, I just select this drop down, flood fill with selected tile, small confirmation, proceed. Alright, everything is filled in with this particular tile. If I go to the game view, I'll just adjust my camera a bit. Camera size 9. Alright, so if I go to the game view, this is how my level looks at the moment. Alright, not so appealing. Let's get back to the scene view. Select foreground, select the background. Now let's look at what mask replacement does. So all mask replacement says is thus replace instances of target prefab tile with the replacement. So I'll select B3, which is the blue tile, as I know this is B3. I select a replacement for it, so let's say B1, or let's keep it B2, and replace prefabs. All the tiles which were B3 have been replaced by B2. And now this is how the level looks at the moment. Pretty good actually. And let's just paint some other elements on top of it. So let's select the tile B4 yellow in color. With the background game object selected, let's just start painting over it. So I'll just type T. Oops. All right, TileO. So that is it. We are done with the level generation. So this is our 2D level which has been created with TileO. The only thing missing is that we don't have any colliders yet. So if I place some object over here, it will just fall right down. So let's look at collider generation now. These two look a bit empty. Let's place this wall. Okay, so let's look at collider generation. Okay, so since I only want to generate a collider for the foreground elements, that is this level, I'll select the foreground TileO object, scene view, go down to the collider generator. Now there are a few values, alpha threshold, that is whether need to generate colliders for pixel values with alpha greater than 0 or whatever value you specify, pixel distance threshold. Now this is a value that is used for fine tweaking, for tweaking the generated colliders. I recommend that you leave this value at 1 unless the generated colliders are not exactly in the shape that you want them to be. Generate single collider. Now as you can see in this particular, for this particular level, there are few elements which are separate from rest of, like these two platforms are separate from rest of the level itself. So we have an option to generate separate colliders for these two, or generate just one collider with the same layer for everything. So I'll go back to foreground, collider generator, leave everything at default for now. I could select a collider layer. So let's leave it at default and I click on generate colliders. Now this process might take a bit of a time based upon how big your level is, the size of your the pixels per unit of your tiles. Okay, so the collider has been generated now. It's not very visible very clearly, so I'll just separate it out. So it's TileO generated collider object which has been generated under the foreground parent. So I'll just separate this. All right. Let's take a look at how it looks. Okay, so as you can see, the collider geometry is exactly the same as the level geometry. Since I had not selected the option to generate a single collider, there are three separate colliders generated. One is for the base, second for first platform, and the second one for the second platform. Okay, I'll put it back at 0. Alright, so that's it. We are done with generating a level using TileO. So the generated level, place your characters on it and just keep creating. Thank you for watching. This was Preet from marchingbytes.com.